Hello and welcome to Impact Africa, our online TV program where we get to have conversations with diverse people who are impacting lives positively. Yes, my name is Dr. Kemi Akiode Adebayo, also known as Mama K, and in today's program to share his story is my brother from another mother. I know I keep telling you that, but I do have, and this one is because we're neighbors, where you'll find out more about it. So he is the resilient, hardworking, an entrepreneur, an international oil and gas executive who is based in South Africa and works in South Sudan as well. My dear brother Ateh Taku, welcome to Impact Africa. How are you today?
Pretty good, Mama K. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Let's start with that name, Ateh Taku. And it's so short, 4-4. It's not like my own name that is like, yours is so short. Where was the origin of that name?
Actually, it's typically Cameroonian.
Okay.
Ateh is my maternal grandfather's name. I was actually the first boy that was born after he passed.
You see where similarities are.
Okay.
We have a similar name in my Yoruba culture in Nigeria, which my husband is actually named that, which means Babajide, after father has died, after he passed. You see, so you are Babajide as well.
So
if you're in Nigeria.
Probably an African thing as well, yeah.
That's interesting.
So Ateh is my maternal grandfather's name. So my mom and all her family, actually their surname is Ateh.
Right.
And then Taku is my paternal family name, so my paternal grandfather's name as well. So Ateh Taku is actually a combination of two families, the Ateh family and the Taku family.
Interesting. Yeah, that's deep. So Cameroonian, born in Cameroon or grew up in Cameroon. Tell us more about yourself, life growing up, the culture in Cameroon. And I see you're wearing, something as well that symbolizes your.
So Cameroon, I'm born and bred, like we say in West Africa, born and bred in Cameroon.
Where exactly?
In a part of Cameroon called the Northwest Province.
Okay. Is that the French-speaking?
No, English-speaking part. And in an area called Santa, like Santa Claus, Santa, where my mom is from. And my dad is from another village, not far away, about 100 kilometers away, called Pinin. Okay. So I'm, like I said, not just combination of two families, but two tribes or two sub-tribes. Yeah, the Santa people and the Pinin people. Yeah. So, born and bred from there. I'm a typical. That's actually the source of the Bantu people all over Africa.
Oh, so really?
I tell people I'm a original Bantu. And it happens that everywhere I travel in Africa, from Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Liberia, down to Angola, to Uganda, South Africa, I'm welcome as a local because I have the typical physiognomy of a Bantu man. Wow. And born and bred in Cameroon, typical Bantu African.
And did you study as well there?
Yes, started primary school, all in my area of birth. Grew up to 18 years old, did my secondary school and high school in Cameroon, and was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to go study overseas from the Cameroonian government.
So you must be a brainy person.
I don't know if I was brilliant
they don't like saying that.
Or my teachers were good teachers, so they taught me well. But I went to a good school. I went to a very good school. Had a very good. It was a boarding school, group of friends from all over the country as well. So it wasn't like one particular area. It's quite a good mixed boarding school and a very competitive school. That's one of the reasons why I actually pushed my parents to send me to that school, though they could hardly afford it, but I didn't give them a choice. It was my objective to go to that school from when I was a young kid.
You knew what you
we actually
wanted.
Stayed not far from the school. So in my early age of about maybe 6, 7, 8, I used to see boys on the school going on. They used to have like one day a month to go home to visit parents. Okay. So I'll see them walking to go to town and coming back. And it was a big admiration for these guys. What
was it that you saw? Was it what the war, or was it how they spoke?
They look smart. They look smart. They always wear uniforms. They look smart, but also they had good performances at the GCE, which is our secondary school certificate. They were always the results from that school are always the best, both O and A levels, and has always been even till today. They're always the top, usually 100% performance, very good scores. So my personal objective as a kid was to be amongst the best, and they were the best. So I really pushed my parents. To be honest, I don't know.
What was your position in the family? I know you were the first son that was born after you.
To my dad,
Okay.
and second to my mom. My mom had my elder brother when she was a student in Onitsha, by the way, as a student. So my elder brother Eric is slightly older than me by a year or two, by 2 years.
Okay.
And then with my mom and my dad, I'm the first.
Okay.
And for the rest of my dad's family, we have about 9 brothers and sisters on my mom's side, and on my dad's side, there's 5 of us. So I come from 14. A very big family. 14.
I'm the same. Don't worry, we're 13 as well. It's an African thing.
There
so
you go.
7 boys?
7 boys, 7 girls.
Wow, that's serious. So you grew up obviously, in Cameroon. Then you went to study, overseas. For you as a Cameroonian, what are you mostly proud of? And I don't know, in terms of your culture, the food, what stands out, for Cameroonians?
A couple of things. Again, like I said, Bantu, very proud of that. Like I said, you have most black people around the world originate from the Bantus. I mean, the US, in Brazil, basically the biggest population of black people in the world are Bantus.
Right.
Obviously, you have the Nilotics in East Africa, and then you have other tribes as well, but the Bantus are the biggest tribe. And like I said, I'm from the source of it. You look at the tree, I'm from the root, the root source of the Bantu man. And apart from that, Cameroon, we are lucky to have we had a colonial connection to 2 different colonial backgrounds, the English and the French. So we speak, I speak English and French, which I think it's a plus. Unfortunately, sometimes we don't make the most of it, but it's something we should be proud of. It came natural to us, and we should use it to the most we can. Apart from that, the only cultural regret I have is I don't speak a lot of our local dialects.
Okay.
And the only reason, like I said, because my mom and dad come from 2 different villages. The dialects, the base dialect is the same, but sometimes just because of the small difference, there's a small tonation differences.
Okay.
And growing up, I used to speak a bit of my mom's dialect, and usually when I go to my dad's village and I speak it, they make fun of me, and vice versa. So it kind of
But you also English and
I didn't
French,
get to using it, and in a way, it's one of my regrets. I would like to be able to be fluent in one or the other, because at the end of the day, it's the same language. It's just tonations are slightly different.
Well, what language is that one?
It's called, the source language is called Ngemba. Ngemba is from my whole area.
Right.
It's not just those 2 villages.
Okay.
It's a whole bunch of villages that speak this as the source language,
Right. So let me now go on to, fast forward a little bit from, being born from a big family, then went to study. What was your first job, and how did you get into engineering, as a profession, as a career? What was fascinating? Why engineering for you?
Okay. Job-wise, actually, my first, I'll call it unpaid job, in terms of I didn't get remunerated in terms of money, but I got remunerated by food, so it was kind of paid, was actually babysitting at home.
If you have a big family, of course, yes.
It's not only that, I was quite lazy. So I didn't want to go to the farm with my mom.
Okay.
So my mom said, okay, you don't want to go to the farm? Yeah, you take care of the babies at home.
Okay.
So Saturdays and Sundays, usually Saturdays, when mom was dragging on my brothers and sisters and cousins, uncles who were at home with us to the farm.
Which is typical of a family, the extended family. You all live together
I would
as
stay
well.
at home and take care of the kids, or the little ones who couldn't go to the farm. And then obviously mom with all the brothers and sisters who had little babies.
Right.
So I mainly took care of them. And till today, I think I have a soft spot for taking care of babies. Not grown-up ones, but babies. I actually enjoy taking care of babies, and I think I'm good at it. So that was my first job.
First unpaid,
babysitting. The second one was actually cleaning plates and pans at home.
Okay.
So when mom cooked and dished food, we all ate. Ateh, go clean the plates and pans. That's until today, I love doing it.
And it was, and that's not, how would I put this? In a typical African home where the boys don't even go into the kitchen normally. It's the girls, if you have girls in the family. So your mom didn't believe in that, obviously.
No. Mom did a good job. I mean, when we were still quite young, the girls would help her in the kitchen. My particular job was, like I said, to wash the plates and dishes. And at a later stage, I started cooking as well.
Right.
So she would put me on the fufu, cooking fufu on the fire with smoke in the eyes and crying and all that. So yeah, she did a good job at that, at teaching us, irrespective. I mean, my mom used to make this joke. She said, look, the reason I want you to learn how to cook fufu is the day your wife doesn't want to feed you, you can feed yourself. Which is good.
Lovely, Mama. Thank you.
The other third job was, we stayed not far from a veterinary farm. And the good thing is we didn't have to buy milk. We used to go to that farm to collect milk. And my job in the morning was to run to that farm, which was about 1.5 kilometers away, to grab a kettle of milk and bring it home. And I did that every morning, to bring fresh milk straight from, I mean, we used to, if the guy would let me, I would pull the milk from the cow myself into the kettle and run it back home. It was quite easy because I used to have one of those tires and 2 things which you used to push.
Oh, yes, I remember those things.
Yeah, those are our cars.
Yes.
It was a good way for me to get up in the morning. I used to run, go do it, run, and just make sure I don't spill the milk on the way back. So those are my 3 jobs at home: babysitting, washing the dishes, and fetching milk every morning.
So engineering.
Okay. So those are, like I said, those were unpaid. Then first paid job was actually working in McDonald's. In the UK as a student. Obviously, we had to make ends meet. My scholarship was coming, but sometimes it takes quite a while to show up. So to make ends meet, I needed a part-time job. And one of the part-time jobs I used to do during school was McDonald's, usually Friday evening, Saturday and Sunday. And then during vacations, I would even do double shifts to make pocket money for beer. And obviously working McDonald's, you get free food as well. So it was a double whammy for me. Then after that, eventually finished my, actually when I worked at McDonald's, by the time I wanted to leave, the manager of that McDonald's offered me a full-time job.
Wow.
But I was like, man,
you were so good as a worker.
Engineering, got my master's degree in engineering, not to work in McDonald's. Which is a regret because now I said, I mean, it's a job at the end of the day. I mean, I could
and you could have owned
I would have probably owned like 3 or 4 franchise shops
because
today.
You started from
the scratch,
floor. Yeah. Okay.
And then why engineering? Again, I go back to, because engineering came from studying maths and physics at school.
I told you were brainy.
I give credit to that to my uncle. Actually, we call him my big brother, but he's actually my dad's junior brother who grew up with us at home. He'd already finished secondary school when he came and stayed with us about a year or 2, and I was still in primary. And he used to push me hard, and his objective for me, and he explained to me, is I should never limit myself to Cameroon, my home country. So I should look at the world as my oyster. From a little age of about 10, 11, I started dreaming big, looking at the world. And so we started looking at what careers can I do that doesn't limit me to a location. Obviously, like all African parents, my dad wanted me to be a medical doctor. And talking to my uncle on the side, he said, but you know, medical doctor, if you're a medical doctor from Cameroon, that is fine. But if you move to Nigeria, you have to requalify. You move to the United States, even from one state to the next, you have to requalify.
And the same thing with law.
Exactly. That uncle of mine, by the way, was a lawyer. So he could have convinced me to do law, but he said
he
no.
knew as well that would
so
apply.
He told me engineering. The good thing with an engineer is you can nearly work anywhere in the world. I mean, you don't really, except if you're doing like really pinpoint engineering, you may have to requalify, but typically a good engineer can work anywhere. So obviously, being supposedly thinking I'm super bright, I wanted to do aeronautical engineering.
Okay.
Which the day I came to my dad with my application for university, he looked at, what? Aeronautical what? Take that off. Put medicine. So my first choice was aeronautical. He took it off and put medicine, which I couldn't do it because, like I said, I wasn't passionate about it. So I ended up doing mechanical engineering, which for me was the most varied of all engineering. Civil is a bit more specific, electronic more specific, but I found mechanical a bit quite open.
Right.
So I did mechanical engineering as a bachelor degree. Like I said, I was fortunate to get a scholarship to go to the UK. Did that at Leeds University. Then immediately at the end of it, since I was still open to a scholarship, I said, let me grab it and do a master's degree in production management.
Okay.
And then it's only after that that I started looking for work, and finally got the job I did in the oil and gas industry.
Right. And you've worked, across the world, obviously.
Yeah.
I know we're going to stop for a break shortly. So I'll just, wrap up with this segment by saying, what are some of the challenges, for you as an engineer? What has been, and especially traveling, around the world and having to learn, what the culture is, in terms of the where you've been. How many countries have you worked in? I'm sure it's a lot. Yeah. Have you ever counted?
About 9 or 10 different countries where I lived,
yes,
and worked. There's places I've been to just on a 1 or 2 week trip to either teach a course or just visit, but work visit, but didn't live there. But yeah, living and working about 10 different countries.
Wow.
And I would say more than half of them with my family. So wife and the kids.
So you're dragging them along.
Move along.
Whew.
Yeah.
Must have been
I don't take credit to it. I give credit to the company I used to work for. I don't know if I can mention them. Schlumberger. Straight after university, I joined Schlumberger, and I worked for them they started me in Gabon.
Right.
After Gabon, I went to the UK for training, and then just Algeria. And that's the way they train the engineers. They literally uproot you from where you are. Like we tell our guys, you need 2 things, today 3. You need 2 things. Back then was your passport and your offshore bag. Okay, so with your passport, you can go anywhere. Your offshore bag, you have your coveralls. Yes. Now we have laptops as well. When we started, there were no laptops. So now we had the 3rd thing, which is a laptop. Yeah. So essentially, that's how I started. I worked, like I said, several different countries. Eventually got married. I'd met my wife back when I was at university.
Okay.
And then we got married and then started having kids. Our first child was born in France. And then we moved to the UK. Second one was born in the UK. We moved to Alaska in the United States.
Wow.
From there, from Alaska to Nigeria. So from extreme cold to extreme warmth.
Interesting.
Yeah, correct. And from Nigeria to South Africa. And then when we reached South Africa, the kids they fell in love with the multicultural nature of the country. My wife being French. They like South Africa because it's got both mixes, the European style and the African style. So we decided, fortunately for us, my company was able to listen to some of my personal requests. If the family can stay here and I can continue gallivanting.
Around.
So from when they were here, I worked in Angola, back and forth.
Wow.
From Angola, I worked in Chad, back and forth. From Chad, I worked in South Sudan, back and forth as well. And then eventually in 2016, I left the company. We separated our ways. But then I went on to start my own company in South Sudan with some friends of mine, which I'm still doing till today.
Yeah. Wow, interesting.
So challenges, to be honest, I haven't seen many challenges per se, because fortunately, like I said, I did engineering, which can get me moving around the place. Fortunately to have joined a company that has this culture of moving people around. And obviously one thing I learned probably from an early age was wherever I am, I have to be part of the location.
And that is important.
Again, when we were kids, that job moved him a lot. So even from primary school, we changed like 3 different schools. And even though he was a senior officer in the locality, he made it quite clear for us that we have to mingle. So we don't want to be the divisional officer's kids sitting on the high mountain and looking. So he threw us deep into the population. Give you an example. We used to walk to church about 2-3 kilometers to go to church. Dad wouldn't allow the driver to take us to church. We'll walk to church.
Disciplinarian.
By so doing, you mix with the people. We're part and parcel of that. So all my life, that is what I've learned. And everywhere I go, I try as much as possible to be part of the community. Like I said, I would rather be an inside outsider than to be a complete outsider. Okay, so you're part of the local people know I'm an outsider anyway. They know I'm not from there.
Yes.
But I'd rather be part of them than to be a complete outsider. Yeah.
Right. You know what? We'll be right back.
Okay.
Wow. My dear brother Ateh, what a journey. Born and bred, in Cameroon, and the fact that your names means two, married between two tribes and named after your paternal, maternal grandfather, and then, got a scholarship. You were so good. Had somebody else who, I believe that your uncle and brother was like a mentor for you, even at that age, advising you on your career choice. And, through that career choice, you've managed to see the world, to grow into the world, to impact, lives, in the work you're doing, worked with a big, multinational company, Schlumberger. Then as well, started, your own engineering company. So now in terms of leadership, because obviously you've been a leader, even a leader at home, a leader, in your community and so on. What does leadership mean to you? Let me, ask that. And how would you define success?
Okay, thanks for that question. Leadership for me is serving. That's for me the bottom line. Serving others, especially helping people achieve what their objective is. For me, everything has to be an objective. And it's at every level. I can start from the family itself. Like I said, I studied engineering, eventually got to oil and gas. And you'll be surprised of all my 14 brothers and sisters.
I forgot to mention that one.
In the oil and gas business as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't force them. I didn't force them at all. I don't force nobody, even my kids. But I guess they probably saw what I'd achieved. And not all of them are engineers. Okay, I think the first one who joined was Ken, who did geology. Okay, maybe geology is linked to oil and gas. And then followed into oil and gas. The second one who went, is not my second brother, it's actually my first brother behind me, but he's in the business as well. He did zoology, of all things, nothing to do with oil and gas. But zoology, his specialty was birds. And strangely enough, one of the projects he worked on, there was actually the Chad-Cameroun pipeline. There was a rare bird along the pipeline, so they picked him as a student, who was a student at the time, to find the habitat of this bird so they can divert the pipeline around the habitat.
Interesting.
While doing that, he worked in the pipeline company, and eventually I think he did a good job. And they imbibed him into the HSC department, the Health, Safety and Environmental Department. And even though he left from there, went back, did his PhD still in the bird business, eventually found himself in the oil and gas business. And today, that's most of what he does, working in oil and gas pipelines, construction of pipelines, usually in the environmental department. And then the third one, my sister, who is also in Denmark, she did environmental studies as well, and eventually found herself in the oil and gas business. So I guess leadership is just doing what you do naturally, do it well, and then serve other people in the process. As you do it, people probably see what you're doing well, and then they decide to copy. Again, leadership in companies is listening to people. It's not just telling them what you want them to do, but listen to what drives them, and then you provide an enabling environment for them to be able to achieve those objectives. What is success for me? Success for me is quite simple. Achieving your objectives. Okay, so you set your own objectives, you work hard at achieving them. Once you've achieved them, I think you feel successful. To me, that's the most basic definition of it. It could be as simple as, I'm a student, I want to study, get O-levels in Cameroon, we used to do by subjects. So if you're doing 10 subjects, I want to pass all 10 of them. That could be my objective. If I work hard at it and get those 10 subjects, maybe of the 10, I want to get 5 A's, 2 B's, 3 C's. Those are your objectives. It's not your dad's objectives. It's not your mom's objectives. It's your own personal objectives. You work at them, achieve them, you've been successful. Then move to the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one.
Interesting. Yeah. So now, as a leader, an exceptional world-traveled leader, who has been to over 10 countries, lived and worked, not just been, but lived and worked in over 10 countries. What are some of the key lessons, for you just briefly share with us that you will be able to tell a young version of you, Ateh, in Cameroun or even in South Sudan to say, okay, these are the key lessons, that I feel, whatever your career, whatever you want to do, what are some of the key lessons for you that's helped you to where you are?
Like I'll go back to what I define success as. So first of all, you must know what you want.
Okay.
Not what somebody else's want, not what your father wants, not what your mother wants, but what you want. Once you know what you want, you try to work with people around you who can help you achieve that.
Right.
It has nothing to do with money, believe it or not. Some people think I need money to succeed.
Because a lot of time people think it's money, I don't have
your
money.
drive.
Okay.
And then once you know exactly what you want, when you want to achieve it, and then how you're going to achieve it, work with your surrounding. Work with your surrounding. There's always available help. If you know exactly what you define it, you clarify it, you talk to the right people, they will help you in any way, and then you will achieve that goal. So as a young person, and this could be anywhere in the world, in the townships in South Africa, in the village in Cameroon, I just tell them, determine what you want. Maybe you don't know what you want. That's fine. Like I said, I probably didn't know what I want until I stayed with this uncle at home, and he kind of guided me. So if you don't know what you want, look for mentors.
Right.
And those mentors don't have to be, don't go to only to engineers, because just look for people who can guide you in, and then they just freely talk to them. Sometimes we think we have to go to a special guru. Just all the uncles, all the aunties at home, talk to them. And sometimes, believe it or not, it's actually easier with uncles and aunts because they don't have preconceived notions of what they want. Mom and dad sometimes they want, like my dad wanted a doctor, my mom the same, and
but they probably don't do that with their children as well.
Yeah, but
with their own child, no, I'm saying the aunties and uncles, it's the same. So it's always better to look for.
Exactly. That's why I said talk with uncles, talk with teachers in school, talk with, like, say, people, role models. Sometimes it's hard to know what a role model is, but talk to your older siblings, older people who are a little bit more experienced than you are, and sometimes they can guide you, or they know, they can see what you're good at. Right. And they can strengthen it by telling you, oh, you're good in maths, so just focus on maths. Or you're not good in maths, but you want to do engineering. Okay, this is what you need to do to improve your maths to become somebody else.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to go into our next break shortly. And I just want to ask you just to share with us this recent challenge, that you did, which was so magnanimous of you, deciding to celebrate your 56th birthday, which was on the 13th of January. You were 56 years young. You kept drumming that young, not old. Yeah.
Don't worry about the gray hair.
That you decided to do your first ever solo half marathon. Correct. Basically. And why did you decide to do that, and how did it go? And whatever you want to share. Okay,
to be honest, it was just a challenge. Okay, like I said, success, leadership, you just set yourself a goal and go for it. Okay, my birthday was on Friday the 13th, which is usually
I don't believe in that, but I know they come up with the 13 number. You don't want to sit on your 13.
And it just so happens I jog almost every other day, and I think it was on the Monday before the Friday, I was jogging, and I just said, oh, my birthday is coming, because my first two kids' birthday are on the 8th of Jan.
Okay.
And I think maybe I was on their birthday or some other day I was jogging. I was just thinking, my birthday is coming, what am I going to do for it? Because the kids were already asking, Dad, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, there's the usual thing of, let's go have a big meal, let's do this. I said, no, let me do something completely different this time. It's been a long time where I had my birthday with all my kids and family together. So I said, let me do something different. And just during that jogging, I just said, okay, what can I do different to really push me beyond my comfort zone? I said, why don't I try a half marathon? The longest I've ever done was 15 Ks.
Right.
So I said, let me try a half marathon and see. And so I said, but if I do that, it's fine, it's challenging. But again, I have friends all over the world. Every year they wish me happy birthday, family and all that. I said, let me throw a something out there to say, okay, let me do it, challenge myself, but let me also collect some money for the good deeds around us. I mean, we're privileged. There's a lot of unprivileged people, especially in South Africa. School year starts in January, and I know typically when the school is going to start, some kids may not be able to go to school, either because of no books, no school, no fees. Obviously, is not an issue, but good quality food and all that. So it just came up my head with the kids in the evening. We were talking on a thread, and I said, "Oh, Dad, are you crazy? You want to do what?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to do it." I mean, they were all scared, so they said, "Come on, let's do it." So I had like a week to prepare for it.
Right.
But I've always been jogging. Like I said, it's not. I didn't start out of the blue. I typically do 8 to 10 Ks.
Wow.
Then occasionally, like I said, I did 15K. So it was just adding 6 more K to what I've already been doing. So it was.
And that's like, running, not walking.
There was a bit of walking in it. I mean, it wasn't all running. I will not lie to you. I mean, I struggle on some hills.
Okay.
On flats, it's not a problem. But usually climbing hills, I struggle a bit. So I'll probably climb like halfway up the hill. And then I'll finish the last half, depending on the length, finish the last half. But on flats, I don't have too much of a problem.
Right.
And I don't know if you saw the video. I actually had to do some.
We're going to share it.
Some pit stops. I had to use the bathroom a few times. I think one time I had to use the bathroom, and then my wife was generous enough. She said, "Hey, I'm not going to let you do this nonstop." So she brought me an energy bar halfway along the trip. And then I think on the way back, I was so hot, I had to cool down, just pour some water on the top of my head. But it was good. I mean, honestly, it was fantastic. Like I said, my kids, they did the first kilometer with me. Right. To get me moving. And then the 2 older ones, my son went way out with me. And then my wife, when she came with the energy bar, she came with my daughter, Roxanne, who joined me on the way back. Okay. And then Martin continued with Mom. And then the last kilometer to the end, they joined me as well. Wow. So they didn't leave me alone. They were scared.
Giving you all the support.
They were scared Dad may not make it, so they stayed with me all along, which was quite good. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they were willing to try. Because I think even Martin pushed his limit as well. Actually, Roxanne too. They pushed their normal running limit. I think Roxanne usually does like 6, 7. That day she did, I think, 8, 9. Wow. And then Martin, who normally does maximum 10, he did, I think, about 13 with me at the beginning. So it was 21 Ks, and when we finished the 21 Ks, I decided to push myself further. I actually wanted to do 23, so I did all the way to 22. And on the video, I don't know if you will see the video. Towards the end, they actually blocked me from continuing. So they stand along the way and stopped me and thought I'd done 21. When they realized I'd done 22, so it was a good time.
So it should be 22, not 21.
It is 22. I did 22, yeah. Okay. So I gave my supporters a 5% uplift.
I see. Awesome.
On the target.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
and
what were you?
The objective. I mean, like you tell me what. I didn't have any objective. I just said, okay, let me go on GoFundMe. And honestly, we set it up. I think, like I said, we made the decision on the Thursday. The run was on the Saturday. My birthday was on the Friday. We didn't want to run Friday because the kids would be in school. So we said, let's do it on Saturday when they're out of school. Then on the Thursday is when we set the GoFundMe. And we're setting up at night. And my daughter said, I mean, she started with her account in the UK. What target should we put? I just make £1,000. You just put a target. And believe it or not, we actually exceeded it. Okay. On GoFund, it was £1,083, which is 3% higher than what I gave. I gave 1 kilometer on 21 Ks, which is 5%. And my fans, supporters, families, and well-wishers gave me 8% higher than. So, like you said, sometimes having that objective, you usually exceed it. Okay, like I said, the 1,000 was just a thumbs up number, and we exceeded it on GoFundMe. Plus, people who couldn't put something on GoFundMe, either because of the country they were in, where sometimes internet access is a problem. I think from that and pledges, we got about another $500. Right. Obviously, the target for us was Cafelelana, which is a charity you recommended for us on that Thursday night again, last minute, which we raised. We gave them 1,000 of the pounds, and then what we decided that extra 500, obviously I'm coming from South Sudan. We also have a lot of needs
projects.
over there. So we already, in the past, we used to do some work with some orphanages over there. So that 500 will go towards that orphanage in South Sudan, yeah.
Wow, well done.
Thank
you know what? Because we're almost running out of time. We have run out of time, but we still have more questions. But we want to share some of the videos, you know, from that run. So enjoy.
Thank you.
Wow, I just keep saying wow because earlier on you were describing, you know, leadership to you, what success means to you, and we saw how you played that role as well with your community challenge or birthday challenge, you know, in terms of being a leader and not just for yourself but involving your family as well, and then putting back, you know, in the community. And success, you know, like you described it, you know, is achieving your own objectives. So yes, even though you did that, but putting back and raising the funds, you know, you did for Cathalilana, which is a non-governmental organization working in Delft, you know, with young people, trying to alleviate poverty, you know, working on food security, upskilling, and so on. And as well, you know, that money, you know, some of the other part which didn't come through that, it's now going towards orphanages and so on in South Sudan, where you're based and where it just shows how, you know, you're practicing all what, you know, your parents, I believe as well, the foundation, you know, they had given you, especially probably your mother in different ways that you know, and even your uncle, and who was a brother kind of, because he grew up with you, that they had given you and seen the world, not just seeing, but yeah, making a goal of yourself, getting what you need to get, but as well putting back. So in terms of what you've seen across some of the countries you've lived in, and even in the country you're born, we know we have social issues, you know, poverty, crime, and a lot of other things. And I know most of the time we talk about them in Africa. I'm not saying there are things not being done. There's things being done, a lot being done, but it's not enough, I believe. There's more that could still be done. Because I believe with you as an entrepreneur, it's through challenges that we find opportunities.
Exactly.
So we do have a lot of challenges. So it means we have a vast number of opportunities. So why do we still have unemployment? Why do we still have... So what for you are some of the social issues that you're passionate, or even if you're not doing anything about it, but that you would love to see something done about it? That's one. And then my second part to that is, yes, okay, you've identified your social issue that you're passionate about. What are some of the solutions to addressing them? Because not necessarily you solving it, but we never know who might be listening and be able to solve it.
Correct. Very good question. I like it because we do have issues, okay? But I think my belief in life is we don't focus on our problems. We focus on the solutions, okay? The more we spend time thinking of solutions, the problems will get solved. Let's not cry about our issues, our problems. One particular one which is of concern to me is energy poverty.
Right.
Okay.
Energy poverty.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Okay. I'm just
if you look at
hearing that in that way.
You fly over the earth, like if you're flying from Europe to South Africa during a night flight, or if you look at Google Earth at night, if you look at the night version of Google Earth, you realize that Africa is still the dark continent. Okay. I mean, many millions of years or many years ago, Europeans used to call us the dark continent. We're still the dark continent. In terms of most of Africa is dark at night. There's no lights, no electricity. And to me, that is where the energy poverty hits hardest. Okay. To have succeeded in school, I used to spend countless hours at night studying on my own. You stay in class during the day, at night you study. You wouldn't study if you don't have lights. And this light could be a bush lamp, the most basic, which is what I used to use as a kid. The one I was not allowed to use it in school, but we all find a way to use it. To as advanced as electricity, just a light bulb. We take it a lot for granted, okay, in our daily lives today, especially those of us who have got a better way of life. But the vast majority, and not only in Africa, by the way, Asia, Latin America, don't have that basic necessity of switching on the light or having a light. So energy poverty for me is a big thing. The question is, what do we do about it? Okay, there's many things we can do. I mean, everybody talks today about solar, everybody talks about wind. What I look at it is Africa has a God-given natural abilities or natural resources. We need to be able to capture that. One simple example is the sun. We have an abundance of sun in Africa. The next one is land. We have an abundance of land in Africa. In terms of population density, we are one of the least populated continents in the world. Okay, give you an example. Africa, we're in the range of about 45 to 50 inhabitants per square kilometer, while Asia is about 3 times as much, about 150. So in terms of that, I say we still have a lot of land. And Asia is doing very well with that huge population, not to mention Europe. We have a lot of land. We have a lot of youths. And if you look at Africa's population, about 85% are lower than 20 years old. Right? So just think what is going to happen to that population as they get of age. Like I said, we have sunshine, we have land, we have youth. How can we bring all those together to solve this big issue of energy poverty?
Yes.
Solar is one of the ways. Wind is one of the ways. Me, I'm looking more of agro energy. Okay. Using the land we have, using the sunshine we have, using the labor we have. They don't have to have degrees. We just need proper labor who are willing to work. And I'm sure most of this youth will work if you give them a good, consistent, remunerative job, which they can use to be able to work the land, which we have in abundance, the sunshine. We may have a shortage of water, but even in the middle of the desert, the Sahara Desert, I can guarantee you drill more than 10 meters deep, you will find water. With a pump, a solar pump, you can bring that water to surface and you can grow food anywhere. People will think Sahara Desert is the biggest. Today, China is fighting the desert. And I'm talking the Gobi Desert and places like those. They have thousands and thousands of farmlands in the desert using simple technologies.
Wow.
Using that water on that land which you have, it could be sandy land today, but there's ways to make it fertile. I mean, the minerals are there. The water is missing. The sunshine is maybe too hot, but you can manage it to a way that you can grow foods. And I'm not even talking of the desert yet. The Sahel, the middle of Africa, the normal tropical Africa, we should be able to use our youth, huge population of youth. They don't need too many skills to be able to work a farm. The lands we have and the sunshine we have grow agro-energy products, which you can then use to make maybe biofuels, be it ethanol or bio or green diesel, which can use to run engines. Today we import nearly all our diesel in Africa. Okay, in very few countries in Africa, even people like Nigeria, who are biggest producers of crude, import diesel. South Africa imports diesel. We should be able to produce this from our own local produce, using our youth, the land we have, the sunshine and the water we have, to be able to produce energy which we can use for any reason. We can either use it for running vehicles, running generators, if we really want to go that far, to have lights in our local and rural areas or the cities. And whatever foreign currencies we save, we can use to develop our own continent.
Yeah.
Okay? So the bottom line for me is we have a lot of things. We just need to be able to how to make that usable for us instead of always waiting for outside solution. One of the ways we can fix that is, again, we have these youths, a lot of them. Nothing against law, nothing against all those other subjects. Let's encourage as many youths as possible to study engineering and technical work. The basis for that is teaching them maths and physics, making them fall in love with maths and physics. It's easy to make kids fall in love with literature. Unfortunately, I was the opposite. I struggled to cram. I mean, I think, and remember one line in Macbeth, nothing in Julius Caesar. I can narrate the story of the old man and the medal and all the other books I read, but I was horrible in maintaining those in my head. But maths, I don't need to memorize maths. I just need to remember the logic of it, and you can calculate and work things. Physics for me was one of the easiest subjects, by the way. And the way I found it easy was, why does a mango fall to the ground when it comes off the tree? Why doesn't it go to the air? So I learned the law of gravity. And from that, I mean, for me, it's physical things there. I can touch it, I can sense it. That's what makes engineering for me very interesting. The more of our own kids or our youth who can train into those kind of subjects, those are problem-solving subjects, but not just learn engineering or get their hands into it. How do we convert that theory into something practical in terms of even just building Legos, putting things together? Like I said, as a kid, remember I told you I used to go pick milk in the morning, pushing that trolley up the hill and run back. I mean, those are physical things which you can easily bring science into kids and make them start feeling it and start solving some of our problems. Okay, so again, I repeat, using our land, which we have in abundance in Africa, the sunshine, which we have tons of, probably sometimes too much, but we can make use of it, the water, and then the huge amount of youth we have. Okay.
Wow. I really want to ask more questions. From that,
we can have another session for this particular.
I think we're going to have a follow-up.
So we can have a session.
We are going to follow up because for me personally as well, and I'm sure for some of our viewers, it's probably a new terminology that you don't hear. Energy poverty. I'm like, what's that? But the way you've described it and the solutions, small things you're saying. I know, yes, it might not be some of us individually, but we still have a part to play because you're linking it back to as well, the training. What are we advising our young people in terms of career? Because we know some careers will be obsolete in the next 5 years with the way things are going. But how are we looking inwards? And you mentioned the agro-energy, bits there. But before, like you said, maybe it's going to be in different parts. But something I need to just say, I know this is my final question. It's part of the problem, though, and what you just said there, not about how our teachers teach as well. Because you said at the beginning when I was saying you're a smart kid and you said no, it's probably Kudos to your teachers and so on. So, and you now are saying you were not literature, or art, good literature, but people were cramming and blah blah blah. And for me, I'm thinking, and I know a lot of people ran away from science because the way we were taught. Where I love maths, but I didn't like the way I was taught in school, I think.
That's true.
I don't even remember, and I think I've blocked that bit. But I never went into taking science subjects. Physics, I was like, but what you just described now with physics, the gravity thing and so on.
That's true.
So it's part of that, not back to our education curriculum and system.
It is.
On how we can make it relevant.
It is.
And
it is. And it's not the teachers which is the problem.
No. Okay.
It is the
I'm sorry, teachers. I'm not saying you were, so don't get me wrong.
It's the system.
Exactly.
The truth is, if you take a kid who is studying literature or law, all he needs or she needs is a book to read, flip through the pages of the book, have discussions with friends, with other people, and they will be able to succeed very well in those subjects. If you want a kid who is doing sciences, and I'll take some basic science like biology, okay, and you want to learn about the flower, the parts of the flower, you literally have to go out, cut the flower, come and cut the flower. I mean, you can open the book, flip the book through, but to make it practical, we need to give them the chance to go cut a flower, come and open the flower, look at the different parts of the flower, and relate it to the book, okay? That may cost money, unfortunately. It may mean either the school has to have access to the flowers, or the kids have to get out of their class, go buy the flowers, buy the razors to cut the flower, because you didn't cut with any knife, which means the school has to have a budget for that. Which one is easier to learn? Just reading the book and do law and literature, or go buying that razor, which costs not much, but the school has to have a budget for the teacher to go buy a razor to go cut the flower and look at it. Flower is the basic one. Another one which we used to do, and that used to make me cringe, was dissecting a rat, right? Obviously, where do you get the rats? You don't catch the rat in the house, which is probably dirty rat and sickly. Somebody has to grow these rats in a place where the school goes and buys them and brings them, and we dissect, maybe 2-3 students per rat, dissect open, look at the different parts of it. That's how, like I said, I was fortunate to go to a school which had a small budget for that. We had a physics lab, we had a biology lab. You're challenging
me now with my mom's school. When the teachers come, you're just right. When the teachers come and say, we need practicals, we need to buy a lab. Yeah, it's too expensive.
Exactly.
But you're right.
That is the fact. And again, I'm just talking at the school level now, which, like I say, is where kids become imbibed. Once you go to university, it even gets worse. I mean, I give you an example. I was fortunate I didn't go to university in Cameroon, but I've heard, not only Cameroon, but other places where university is an amphitheater, and that's about it. You have a big amphitheater with maybe 100 kids, maybe 500 students, with a lecturer in the front who spews what he has to say. The kids take notes, take it home. Luckily, if there's a library, they'll go open the library and read. Today, there's internet. They can download stuff on the internet. But go to the science departments. So that, like I said, law department probably has 500 students. They pay their fees, probably the same fees as a science student, because it depends on what parents can afford. But the expense of running that department compared to the expense of running a science department is probably 1 to 5. So in so doing, we end up producing more lawyers, more of these, and less of the science people, be it engineer. And I'm not even expanding to engineers yet. Whereas a good mechanical engineer, you should be able to take an engine of a car, open it, put it back together, physical. I mean, not just open a book and read the engine, but strip it down, put it back together. All that needs money. The reality is sometimes we look at the money and we're scared, but you just need 1 or 2, 3, 4 engines, old engines. They don't have to be brand new engines in the engineering department for the students to be able to work on. Again, like I said, I got lucky. In my mechanical engineering department at Leeds University, as you entered, there was a Rolls-Royce engine sitting there, a whole big Rolls-Royce plane engine. And as a student, though I didn't do aeronautical or but just standing there and looking at that was mesmerizing to me. And then when I go to class and study thermodynamics and my teacher is telling me about the impellers and the vanes, I mean, now I can visualize, oh yeah, then I go downstairs and I'll look and say, this is what he was talking about. So just imagine we had the same of a car engine. We're talking about 4-stroke engine, 2-stroke engine, the cylinders. Cut the engine, put it there as display. The students will look at it, okay, this is what these are the, all those little things. It may cost money maybe at the beginning to set, but the long term is actually not much. Then if you want to go further, then you have the engines which the students strip down and put back. It's the same engine. They can use that for the next 10 years, but it's practical. It's hands-on.
Wow.
And that's how the students, and most kids, I mean, you know, you have kids, how do you teach them? You teach them by making them. How does a teacher learn to walk? They don't read it in a book how to walk. They literally have to get up, one step at a time, fall down, get up.
Yeah.
That's how you do engineering. You have to physically touch things. And by so doing, the school system has to put extra budget for the engineers.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not only the schools. I mean, let's not blame too much the school system, so long as they really want to. Industry as well needs to play a part, okay? If schools can link themselves with industries, even just taking the students to go visit. I mean, I remember one of my early visits at school, which I think my dad punished me for it. I skipped school one day in primary school to go stand by the edge of a window and watch how beer is made in a brewery. Okay. Just seeing how those bottles run past and then they go into thing, it gets filled, it goes, then it comes out, then a cork covers it. I remember I came home and I don't know how my dad found out that I didn't go to school that day, but you know, parents, they know.
They know, yes,
so when he found out, he was really mad at me. But then it looked like, and he was actually telling my son Martin later on in life, it looked like he didn't realize that something was missing. And the very next weekend, he took me on a trip through, because he was living in Yaoundé. I just joined him, the capital of Cameroon. Okay. I joined him for like a month. I was just exploring the town by myself by skipping school. I mean, I was a bad kid as well at some points in my life. By skipping
We're definitely having fun
by
too.
skipping
I want to hear all that.
To go find my way. Just try to, this new town. My mind was like, new thing. So when he realized it, he probably felt guilty that he hadn't done it for me. So he himself took time off, like this weekend, he would take me to the brewery. And it was even better with him because he now he knew how to ask authorization from the factory manager to take me in. So he would go all the way, instead of me standing on the window and looking from this and then run to the other side, see what happens to that bottle. He took me in and they explained everything to us. I remember he took me to the airport to see planes landing and taking off. He took me to the National Assembly. I mean, those little, like I said, they're practical. I mean, you see, if you're lucky to touch, it's even better. Okay, so this is something which, if we empower our science teachers to get the kids involved in those things, maybe industry needs to get involved, inviting these kids to come and visit the factory, even when they are 10 years old, 12 years old, maybe once a year, they have outings to industry to see engineering aspects. You'll be surprised how many kids will fall in love with engineering.
Wow, we're definitely
a bit long-winded. I'm sorry, but that's my passion.
No, but you see, the thing is, even for me, and I always tell people this, that when we have this conversation, they think, they're just being a guest and they're sharing their story, and we're having the conversation. I benefit a lot from it as well, where I pick, things, and already. I'm thinking, like for my mom's school, which is a low-income school in a disadvantaged area in Lagos, I'm now thinking, okay, yes, we've been talking about excursion, but we're thinking about go and see animals, but what if, what you just said now, take them to
a mechanic
workshop, whatever, and then why are we not?
Especially a clean one, so they can not take them to a dirty mechanic.
No, but they can be encouraged, the breweries, where they can see machines working, working.
I'm sure if you contact Peugeot Nigeria and organize a trip to one of their factories, Michelin, where they make tires, they will willingly accept you to visit.
Although we don't have any more manufacturers in Nigeria. Our cases are pathetic now.
I'm sure there are few.
We still have some.
All companies can receive.
We used to have a lot.
All companies can receive. The only thing is it's pipes, so you don't really see what's happening. But just seeing the pipes, I mean, obviously sometimes it's high pressure, so it may not be that easy. But I'm sure there's things being made in Nigeria.
Yeah, but what you're saying as well, what are we doing, with the school system, be it private or public, to make sure that our science teachers are empowered? Because I know, yes, we're all talking about STEM, getting the girl child into STEM, the boy child as well. But yeah, there probably needs to be more, to do this.
Yeah.
Whew, we've gone way, way, way over time, but it is what it is. We're on Impact Africa.
Thank you.
And we're sharing stories. And I celebrate you, my dear brother.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're definitely going to be back because we want you as well to mentor, if you wouldn't mind, we would love, for you to mentor young people that we work with. And we try and match, people to and I think I've already got you now for someone. He's been asking me, where's my mentor? And I'm like, so now I'm just thinking, now.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm saying it loud. Tendai from Zimbabwe, I think this is your mentor. I'm going to, because I've just thought about it now, so, but the mentor program, the mentor program is very informal. It depends on individuals and it's more about, like the way you had somebody just advising you and career path, and these are people maybe in business or trying to decide or just having, so we will definitely be
just to give you another practical example, the company I spent 25 years working with, Schlumberger, they've done a fantastic, and they're still doing a fantastic job in that sphere. In terms of, they have this philosophy, like I used to be a recruiter for the company as well, where they say they recruit where they work. So if they're working in Nigeria, they recruit Nigerians. They work in Congo, they recruit Congolese. They work in South Africa, they recruit South Africans. Most companies just bring people from outside, get the job done, and go.
Yeah.
Schlumberger does the opposite. They bring, at the beginning, recruit as many locals as possible with zero skills. They understand the educational system in Africa that it doesn't give practical skills.
Okay.
Like engineers who don't know which way a screwdriver turns, left or right, because the university doesn't have a workshop where these students go and play with a screwdriver, bolts and nuts. They understand that. They bring these students on board either as interns while they're still studying, or recruit them after studying and put them through a very intensive 2 to 3 year training program.
Right.
And part of this program will involve getting a lot of practical skills. You'll be surprised, half of our African students quit within a year because the work of an engineer in their head was having a tie, a suit, and sitting in an air-conditioned office. Okay, Schlumberger starts you with your coveralls. That's the first thing you get given. Coveralls, boots, a hammer, and a toolbox. You go in the field, you start hitting it, painting. And people say, man, I didn't study 5 years of it. Become a painter or clean the floor. But by so doing, you'll be surprised. Those guys who typically grasp that aspect.
Yes, of course.
They do well. The thing is, we need to take this from the post to as junior as possible.
Yes.
So even our primary school kids know a job of an engineer is doing stuff with your hands, not sitting in front of a laptop playing with your... Because by the time they reach high school, they already have this idea in their mind that an engineer is an office job. So when you're taking them now to the field, they look down on it. And like I said, we've lost a lot of... Schlumberger has lost a lot of students because of that. I was lucky because one of my interests in Schlumberger, I guess that's why I eventually became a recruiter, I mentored a lot of new recruits.
Okay.
From my days in Congo, I think at one point I had like three mentees I was working with. And again, that practical aspect was very important to me. When I left Schlumberger and formed over with my friends in South Sudan, that's something we drive as well. We recruit students straight out of university as well. We throw them in the deep end, sometimes even worse than Schlumberger, because Schlumberger has at least training facilities. We don't have that as of now. But we take them into the deep end. We bring some experts, like the last project we brought about 80 technicians from India. We recruited our local guys in South Sudan, paired them together with a clear plan that in about 6 to 7 months, 1 year, we'll extract some of those Indian technicians and let our local guys get on with the work. Over. You'll be surprised how quick that can happen. How quick these guys imbibe when you put them in that kind of environment. And don't just put them, but you follow up on them.
Correct.
So I spent, I think on that project, I spent about 2 months in the field with the guys, myself. On a daily basis, I'm getting up in the morning, chasing them. Hey guys, what time is it? You're supposed to be at work now. The guy is still waiting. You have to be there even before your supervisor comes to show that you're willing to learn. And when you're on the job, listen to what your supervisor, if he tells you do this, do more. Don't just do what he told you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not easy, but it's just a mindset thing. The guy already has the basis, but you need to push his mind to make him realize that this expert is not abusing me. He's actually, I'm learning from him. And the quicker I learn, the quicker I can progress. Unfortunately, most of us, and especially places like Africa where there's a scarcity of jobs, we are not good at training the next person because we're worried if he learns, that means that
I don't have a job.
But again,
I'm made
like I said, my
redundant.
former company, Schlumberger, they had this strong policy. It said the only way for you to progress is to train your replacement. So the quicker you train your replacement, the quicker you can move, because the job, there were jobs. There's jobs in the company. It's not a limited mindset of, oh, I'm going to end up here. You can become whatever you want. But the way to move on is to train somebody to replace you quick, so they don't need you on that job and then they put you on another job. And then somebody ahead of you trains you as well, and so on and so forth. So everybody keeps moving up.
Yes.
Eventually, even if there's no space at the top, when most people leave Schlumberger, they actually do quite well outside, because most of the industry appreciates what that company does. So most ex-Schlumberger employees actually do well in other companies within or outside the industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whew, I hope I don't get into trouble with the likes of other oil companies thinking this is about Schlumberger. No, they have not given us anything. But it just shows how, for me, the company that invested in somebody like Ateh, and he's still being an ambassador for them, even though he's not with them anymore. And I think that's where we all want to get to, where somebody just speaks passionately, about their former employer, in that way, and proud of some of, the success stories, you've had, and like you said, you were part of the recruitment, and I'm sure there will be people, and this is why that you've impacted their lives just by recruiting them in there. You've changed their lives.
By the way, other companies do the same. I just
I know.
Which I grew out of the same system. I'm sure Halliburton, Shell. Total,
I didn't want to mention
program.
anybody, but I know, and that's why I'm saying that people don't think, but it just shows you, that yes, you were proud, that you had a company that invested in you, based on your skills, your qualities, and everything else, and you're passing that, on. Who, my dear brother, I celebrate you. We're definitely going to have part 2.
Thank you.
And I know I'm going to get into trouble because our program has overrun, but it's okay because
it was
difficult to it's difficult to get hold of you. I don't know when next, because you're going back.
Yeah,
to
I'll be going
Sudan,
back. I'll be coming back maybe April.
Yeah.
So we're in February now.
So let's see how that pans out. So thank you. But in closing, we always do this. We want our guests to just give words of encouragement to anyone, out there, but particularly young people, because they're the ones we work with to empower them. And anyone you want to speak to, whether engineer, whether somebody is not an engineer, whoever you feel you want to give words of encouragement. So over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Mama Kay. And like Mama Kay said, let me address myself to the youth, which I am one of. Okay, I'm still 56 years young, so I'm a youth. Not by definition, but my definition. So what I would recommend, and I push hard, is know what you really want. I mean, what really drives you. And what drives you, work with your surroundings to achieve that. Okay, it could be your parents, it could be your uncles, your teachers at school, anybody, even people who you're not related to. Just find somebody who is in that sphere and go to them. To be honest, you'll be surprised how much people are willing to give out what they have and they know if you genuinely ask for it. If you genuinely ask for help, people will be willing to help. So my personal passion is science and engineering, or as Mama Kay calls it, STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths. Okay, so I encourage as many boys and girls from as young as possible, 6, 7 years, 10 years old, to be exposed to that. Okay, starting from a kid playing with Legos, putting things together, building things with wood. Okay, making cut with saw and putting things together, moving to making engines. I mean, when you buy stuff from the market, buy things in parts and try to put them together. Don't just buy something already put together. Buy it in parts and put them together. If something breaks at home and mom and dad don't need it anymore, ask them if you can take it and strip it down and see if you can put it up together again. Even if it doesn't work, just that aspect of stripping it down instead of just throwing it away. Stripping it down and putting it together, it's a learning process. It doesn't only have to happen in school. It can happen in anything you do. Anything you do, just try to be building things. Like I said, show some interest. I mean, you're lucky today. You have internet, you have YouTube. Go on YouTube, watch videos on how things are made. And you'll be surprised how much you can learn from that, okay? So like I said, Africa is our continent. We need to fix it. We don't have to wait for other people to come and fix it for us. We will fix it ourselves. And the only way we can fix it is to depend on the youth of tomorrow, the youth of after tomorrow, and the youth of next decade. And you guys are the ones to do it. Our time is almost gone. We're here to be able to help, but we count on you. Thank you very much.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Thank you. I celebrate you. I appreciate you. I honor you. And I pray, that you continue to impact lives positively in ways that you will just keep being proud of yourself that, wow, this little boy from Cameroun, has managed to do this silently in the background, because sometimes people think, no, you need to be out there. No, we can do all this one child at a time, one school at a time, one community at a time, one street even at a time.
Correct.
So there are various ways of doing it. So thank you. We celebrate you.
Namake, thank you a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Shukran.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Merci beaucoup. Let me show off my French now. Danke. Danke. So yeah, that's all we've got time for. There's so much, in there. I can't even try and recap, on some of the practical masterclass, I'll say, that my dear brother Ateh shared. Not just sharing his stories, but giving us practical solutions. And like you said, we shouldn't focus on problems, but rather on solutions. And I say that day in, day out, as well. And good to hear that I have other people as well that believe so much in that. So dream big, look at, what is around you. There was just so much, in there. Even, that last bit that he gave you, go back, watch this again and again, just to inspire you or to inspire other people as well, if you're already sorted and you know what you want. So till next time, this is Mama K saying, stay safe, stay blessed, love you all, and au revoir.
Thank you.